Okay, I did it almost as good as Christian.
It worked. We're
It
here.
worked. We're here. we got the stuff. Um anyway, hello, GitOpsians. Welcome to Thursdays. Um you'll notice my co-host has changed. For the folks who he didn't actually really announce it. Christian just kind of quietly left and transitioned over to Acuity.
Mm-hmm.
And then so when people realized he was gone, I got a lot of messages like, "Oh no, are you going to continue the stream or whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, this is the second time he's done this to me. So we'll continue the stream." This was his week to pick a topic, by the way, though, so he completely just left me hanging.
Set you up.
He said, "I'm going to have abandonment issues now. Honestly, I'm going to start having some abandonment issues with this dude. 10 years of friendship, and this is how I get treated."
Yeah, I know. Slow rolls you on the way out. You know, that's crazy.
Absolutely insane. So anyway, Jonny graciously agreed to step in and save me for this week. And for folks surely have to know that Jonny is the co-host for Ask an OpenShift Admin. And if you didn't know that, you know it now. So and I had you on. Did I have you on here? I had you on here a while ago. The first time Christian abandoned me, actually,
Yeah.
you came on and saved me then too.
I'm your co-host rebound. So.
You're my round. Oh wow. We're just gonna leave that alone.
I'm like, that might have been too far.
That might have been the bridge. Anyway, but I digress. Once upon a time, we had Marty Jackson come on to talk about validated patterns. Marty's on your team. You guys work together. When we very last minute planned today's stream, we were like, hey, why don't we like briefly say hi from the validated patterns team? And then also let's talk about this whole Janus thing, which I don't think anybody outside of like the company is talking about, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's a little, it's cool. We'll talk about it. Sorry.
I actually don't know a whole lot about it, so you get to do all the talking. I started trying to read up on it last night and realized that the docs section just says work in progress, and I was like, "Oh, well."
Yeah. It's a big project. I mean, like the Janus side is pretty cool. What they're doing with it. But like Backstage in general there's just so much to do. Like there's so much that you can do with it that I think it could be it could be its own conversation, honestly.
Right. So the context there is that Janus is JANUS IDP. I'm going to copy just the link to the blog that I was reading and paste it in the YouTube chat for folks. So Janus is a community that Red Hat is starting around the Backstage project. And what I know about the Backstage project is it's sort of it's like a platform around like developer experience, I guess, about like simplifying the developer like life. And it came from Spotify, I think, right?
Yep.
That's all I know
So
about it.
Spotify.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Spotify open sourced it like 2 or 3 years ago, and it looks like it's pretty popular. But like when you try and look up, hey, who else is using this stuff? Like there's a lot of people using it, but there's just not a lot of stuff out there, like a lot of content. And yeah, it's an IDP, so oh my God, I can't think of the word wow, a developer platform. And so the idea is like, say you have like a workflow that your company or your organization has approved, right? So like on the SRE side, you guys have like hey, if you want to create a new app, you've got this entire thing that you got to go through, right? You've got this run book or whatever, essentially. So you can create a template based off of that workflow, which will use like your images that you are like blessed to use, like certain configs and stuff like that, and then that person can go in and actually deploy that resource on their own. So it's pretty much platform engineering, right? I think that's kind of like the idea behind it. And then but self-service, right? Let a developer go in and do their thing quicker, better, faster, using the things that the company's approved. Internal. Thank you so much. I couldn't think of what I meant. My bad. Thank you.
So I thought it went internal, but then internal didn't seem to fit for a public project. So then I was questioning my whole sanity on the internal thing. But yeah, golden path templates, exactly. So that's so I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the stream here, but so in Red Hat in the SRE group, we have exactly this, like standards and like approved architectural models and stuff like that for like managed services offerings. So if you look like advanced cluster security, for example, right? So they had to become an offering, they had to conform to the standards and so forth. And it's not extremely it's like it's internally built. It's like I don't want to call it ad hoc because it is like a fairly robust set of systems and so forth, but it's not got this level of polish, if I'm really honest with you. And it's not very self-service. It's a little bit difficult to navigate. So I think that's part of why like Red Hat started like looking at it, is we've been having a lot of conversations about how do we get out of this position of being on our own solution and then like start getting like an industry standard that not only can we drink our own champagne, use ourselves, but also then help our customers have that same experience where it's clean and it's elegant and so forth, right? Because we're trying to make sure that what we're doing for our customers, we're also doing for ourselves, and like the reverse. And so I think that's where I've been privy to for a long time a various series of conversations around exactly this type of thing. So when I saw that they were doing the Janus community, I was like, oh, I completely understand the why of this, right? I've been very, very intimately like involved in the whys of this type of thing. So I was like, this is really cool. And I still know next to like nothing about it. But everybody's like, I think actually Tal, it's your entire fault we're talking about it, right? Because Tal was like, he was the one who's like one of the first people who messaged me and asked if I was going to keep the stream up. And I was like, yeah, but I have no idea what I'm talking about because it was Christian's turn. So he was like, how about Janus? And I was like, I don't know anything about that. Absolutely, let's learn together. So I think that's really what we're going to do here today. I know, Jonny, you've got more exposure to it than I do. But let's just learn about this thing together, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I don't know anything about Backstage. This is Janus. What was I looking at? I wanted to look at the plugins. Right, this was what I wanted to look at. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. You mentioned maybe, hopefully, kind of having a demo, but I don't know if it actually ended up working for you.
It did not. Like it's, I got it to deploy, but it looks like it has an issue with Cert Manager. So like the actual Janus demo itself can't deploy.
Certs, man, every time.
It literally is. It's been painful because I was really close to getting it. So.
Oh well, maybe next time. Anyway, so the plugins thing was sort of the thing that I was. What is Showcase? I didn't even click this yet.
Yeah, so Showcase it might be up, but I think it's actually down until Tuesday.
Oh, I was gonna say because there's not a security thing, and I'm not gonna press this button. I don't hate myself. Also, could you imagine if I pressed this button on a live stream and like RIT saw me do that?
Yeah. Whoops.
I would get so much grief. Yeah, the showcase is offline till the 20th. That's such a shame. Anyway, so whatever. But yeah, so I was looking at the plugin things, and I was like, okay, so there's pipelines with Tecton. This one, I didn't know anything about this one. I was like, that looks cool. I was just kind of like poking at this, like these all look cool.
Yeah. This one's awesome because like you get to actually like go into a project and see the topology of the project and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat.
So it's basically just like a GUI, right? For
Yeah.
Kubernetes.
Yeah.
So that's something that.
Like... Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
I was saying that's something that for those of us who use OpenShift, we're spoiled because we're used to having it, but it actually there isn't. I've seen a lot of like Reddit threads about what's a good Kubernetes GUI. So I was like, that's actually like a really big value add because I know people want it a lot.
Yeah, so the whole idea behind Backstage is like you get all this tooling, right? That's all like the single pane of glass where Turbo can go in and they can go and look at the topology of their application, right? Or if they wanted to look inside of Argo CD, and I'm just kind of like spitballing through the Janus plugins that they created. But essentially, you'd write a plugin for anything that's got like a console that you want to go to and monitor and like watch or whatever, or have somebody go to and do something with. And so they have plugins for like Kubernetes, like an actual raw Kubernetes cluster. There's like a whole library of them where you can pretty much do whatever. There's one for Chat GPT. Like there's not in Janus, but within Backstage itself. So there's all kinds of craziness that you can do.
Wait. Where's this? I want to see this Chat GPT one. There's that one.
Yep. And then
that's Kubernetes. Oh, here we go. We keep rolling.
Yep.
And you know what I miss? It's there kind of. I miss like way more like pronounced scroll bars so that I know it's going to scroll, because continuous scrolling and like the concept of single page UIs has me confused as to whether or not there's anything to scroll to anymore. I'm old. I just really want the really big visual cue that tells me what I can or cannot do. That's all I want in life.
You got more to go.
Okay, so there's the Argo one. Where is the chat? There it is. Wow, ChatGTP.
So the thing about the plugins is when you so say if you have like you're running this in OpenShift, right? Or if you're running this locally, you add the plugin into your image, or if you're running it locally, you'd build it into your application, and then you modify some stuff within the front end or back end, whatever kind of plugin it is, and then it becomes available, and then your people can use it and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat.
Okay, so it's not entirely plug and play, but it's mostly plug and play. It's plug in, make a couple little changes, do some wires, and then play.
Yeah, and I think that there's I'm really just kind of going off the conversation, but it sounds like there's a request either in the Spotify or Janus and Showcase are working on it or something like that. But they're trying to do like dynamic plugins, so that way you can add a plugin and then it becomes available. So it's just I don't think it's a thing yet.
That probably requires some level of intelligence that's tricky to write in.
Yeah.
That sounds like a hard problem. I'm glad I don't have to solve it. To be honest with you.
Oh yeah. So we took a look at this for the patterns team, and just trying to figure out like how would we make how would we do this to make it make sense. And it's there's just so much to it. It's hard to find, because the idea is you want to set, this is your story, right? It's this IDP would be very personal to your organization. So it's like you got to come up with this story that would be compelling to everybody, and then which is difficult because it's like, well, I don't know what my developers want because I'm the developer. So. Yeah,
as it turns out, not every Conway's Law, that's the word I'm looking for, right? The processes and preferred workflows are going to mirror the organizational structure. And so without answering that question, you don't really know what is the great processes. I love that, though. I get excited about these types of things. Because I love DORA metrics, consistency and tooling, right? It's actually like in like when I go to do as a speaker, it's like it's in my speaker profile. Like I'm passionate about consistency and tooling. And that's really what it is. But like, what I mean when I say that is like, if we can get everybody working in the same way within the same organization, not necessarily within the industry, although that's always kind of cool too. If we get people working in generally the same way within the same organization, then it's a lot more natural to be able to perform cross-functionally, and like it's easy to be more collaborative and so forth. And so having something like this that basically is like, okay, here's the way we do development in our company, and it's got all kinds of, I'm gesturing at this screen. You guys can't really see it because of the fact that my screen is in front of your faces, but just pretend that I'm like doing the, what is that, Wheel of Fortune thing, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That one. Just pretend like I'm doing that, right? The fact that you've got all of this, like you can pick and choose and choose your own adventure. It's like a choose your own adventure thing, right? But you can still kind of create that consistent experience. I like that. I think that is a very big value, and I see a lot of really great things here. Like there's Harness, there's Grafana. I didn't even know Harness had feature flags. That would have been something that I should have paid attention to. That type of thing. But yeah, so it's really I appreciate that. And it's kind of, I see a lot of there's some Red Hat stuff, right? We've got our Backstage plugins here.
Yeah.
So everybody's doing the thing, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think if the way I envision this would be this would be a portal, right? You would come in, you would have a user-facing portal where they would go and see your docs, so you could see your CI testing and stuff like that. So maybe if you have a dashboard that shows hey, in our case with all the patterns, right? Here's all the patterns, here's how they're doing in a CI type of thing. Or if I have maybe I want to see some metrics, I want to see some graphs or whatever, right? Then click on that. And then on the internal side, you hit the other end of that, and it's okay, hey, look, I want to go deploy a thing. I want to go deploy a cluster, maybe deploy a pattern on top of that, and then do all the funky stuff within that, and then tear it down, right? Or just not have to worry about it, and it becomes really clicky at that point, and it's kind of nice. I think from that end, it makes the reusability story pretty legit. It makes sense. The consumption story, right? How do I get people to use this thing more? Make it easy for people to use, right? Go and click something, fill out some fields, and away it goes.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything that I should I don't know. I literally just started playing with this a couple of days ago, and a couple of days is a very strong way of saying I looked at it twice. Is there something that I should be clicking either on the Backstage page or on the Janus page that we should really be showing off right here?
I wish the Showcase app was up because it's got all the plugins in. Hang on, let me find it really quick.
Let's talk about the XKCD comic plugin. What is this? This is the best thing I've ever seen. Simple way to dispatch XKCD comics in your Backstage application with an optional navigation bar to browse through past comics. You know what I actually want from this? I want this to have been a message of the day. If this had been a message of the day style plugin, right? So you log into your console, and instead of just getting the today's, which is also valid, but if it just kind of randomly selected one for you as your message of the day for XKCD.
Yes.
I would be so motivated to log in to work every day and see which one I got. And then I am imagining Slack threads of people comparing which comics they got and sharing that. There was a thing for a while here where we were doing the Wordle of the day threads and how did everybody do on Wordle? It'd be which XKCD comic did you get? I could see that.
That would be awesome.
I could see that. It's my horoscope for the day, but it's my XKCD comic for the day, which I would pay way more attention to personally. Let me grab copy link. Let's go to there.
Yeah,
they
so
have a little demo apparently.
Yeah, this is their Backstage demo. So yeah, click on Backstage up in the top left. I'm not sure what's going on there.
It doesn't like me.
Oh, it is dead.
It is dead. Everything's dead. We have really amazing timing with this topic today. Everything is down. Home.
That's where it worked. So for me, it works.
Okay, well then you start sharing your screen.
It works on my laptop. I don't know what the problem is. Yeah.
It works on my machine. Maybe it's a Firefox thing. Maybe he doesn't like Firefox.
Oh yeah, maybe it could be. All right, let me.
Literally, we moved to containers to get rid of the works on my machine problem, but JavaScript just laughed. It said no.
Okay. So I'm assuming that you can see this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so essentially, and this is I'm a 15-minute expert here. I'm not an expert. So if I say anything wrong, please don't kill me on Twitter. but yeah, so basically, like what you do is, when you create a resource, you can track the ownership of it. So you essentially have like this, um, you know, all the different components get registered to a specific owner. And so if we go through, like we can see like there's the different APIs. So we have this hello world. I'm just clicking on stuff so we can see it. And we can see that it's got this pet store provider. The owner is Team C. If we wanted to look at the docs or the source code, we could do that. We could take a look at the definition for the API or for that resource. The other thing, I'm trying to find some other cool stuff. Let's see here. That's the playback stuff. They normally have like a website. Oh, so here, just going through looking at the docs. So say if you had documentation, you can actually render your documentation within Backstage, and it's pretty cool. Then you have Tech Radar. So it just gives you all this like visualization. And then here's the GraphQL plugin. And it looks like it wants my GitHub. I'm gonna do it. I'm just clicking on stuff. So if there's, let's see here.
We're like QEing their demo site right now. Like, well, it doesn't work on my computer. It also doesn't work in Chrome. I just tried it. There's an unexpected, there's a syntax error in their GraphQL example. Like we're just hitting all of it. That's the best though. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. So this is kind of like when you have the plugins, you can add them to your if it's like a front end or a back end plugin, you can add it into the UI and make it like a nice little icon over here. This is like the cost insight. So like when you're looking at like monitoring your cloud costs, this is the cloud cost plugin for whatever you're doing.
Ooh, breakdown by product.
Let's do it. Yes.
That's cool. This is extremely cool. Yeah, that was about to be my question. Does it have compute information?
Yep. Look at this. Boom.
Ooh.
What happens if you click on it? Yeah. So this is all the monies.
That's neat. So there was something I talked about recently because it's something that I'm kind of trying to do. You've definitely heard about the data project that one of my teams is working on. Shout out to Steven, who I think is watching. And so one of the things that I was saying that we should put into our data project is like actual like CPU and memory like graphs, like the software's like overarching profile. So not just how, but like it influences spend. And so we also have spend, but actually just watching it in general, because the, well, obviously one, that's how spend is calculated against those things. But two is actually like, if you start seeing any irregularities in those trends, it can actually give you insight into like probably like performance problems that could be like a blip enough that maybe it's not like firing any of your alerting, but would be like actually probably cause for concern and should warrant an investigation. So like, SREs and engineers could go in and be like, okay, so why is this all of a sudden, or like what is causing it to really regularly spike? Because there's like garbage collection in Java, right? The garbage collection always caused a spike, but then as general workload was like increasing as a whole, then the garbage collection spike would actually cause like and other problems, and the things would die. And it's like, oh, because garbage collection is now taking up too much, and like this, it can't actually finish, right? So that was one of the things that I'm like, I want to see more stuff like that, more stuff that shows me about how is my software operating compared to how I profiled it and expected it to operate when I was doing the design. Because sometimes we don't circle back on that until it's because we're being reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah, it works. Moving on.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have a question, which is, will this pull from insights, cost metrics, operator, others? Answer to that is, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
No idea.
I'm sure that you could write a plugin that would do that. I'm sure that there could be. or yeah, I'm sure that you could write a plugin that would do that you could scrape that information from. So there are ways to enable or to use some of the API features. So yeah, if it's got an API that you can pull from, then I'm sure you could probably pull that in. So, but that's my 50% certainty answer right there. Like, I'm not
Yeah, this
100%
is
sure.
we literally just started playing with this so that we could talk about it today because it's a cool thing. And both of us, I think you got a maybe 2 weeks head start on it compared to me of like being aware of its existence.
Yeah,
It's very new.
I've been more focused on like trying to get it installed and then like trying to essentially make it like custom for the validated patterns. And so like I started, it's kind of like the cart before the horse, right? I started trying to do that before really understanding like what Backstage was. So I ended up having to take a step back and then reading on it. But I'm not a developer by default. So like for me, like there's just some things that are cool to me that probably don't mean anything to a developer, or there's things that are really important to developers that don't mean anything to me. So
Yeah. So the question is the goal of Janus to get an overview of the things we have running on OpenShift, like deployments and stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and be proactive and say no. It's like that's one of the capabilities, but the goal of it is to have a kind of a it's a developer, an internal developer portal, IDP, right? So that kind of a consistent developer experience that helps to automatically enforce like the things that we would want to enforce. So standards and what's the other word I'm looking for? My brain just like did not want to supply the language that I needed to. So I'm going to just make Jonny finish my sentence.
yeah, it's just like it's. I think Marcus actually answered it pretty well. Where saying that it's to create and curate plugins. The topology view is a great example, but I don't think it's to monitor like the deployments and stuff like that. It's so you can create stuff, right? It's to give you that like that nice interface where you can go in and you can click on something or complete a template and then build something that's within the standards of your organization. So like the golden path templates is what they're actually referred to, but essentially you're using the framework and images and things like that your company has already bought into and approved and stuff like that from a security perspective, and it allows you to deploy things easily. So like a Go website or a Node application or whatever. The plugins are just a nice like visual.
We just got distracted from distracted from the overarching concept into the this is a neat thing that's available within the thing.
Well, when I first went into the console, I was trying to show like the ownership thing because I think that's pretty important for a lot of people, like knowing like, okay, look, I've got this thing. Who do I call when this thing is broke, right? Like, or because this specific piece of the API is owned by a different team or whatever, and so it kind of shows that ownership. And there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it. But it gives you a visual map, like, okay, well here's where to go. Here's where that resource is owned. This API actually has these 4 components. This component belongs to this, higher level thing. So it just gives you a nice map of how everything works.
Okay. Pause to address right on the OAuth stuff. IDP gets me every time with that. It is one of the most frustrating things. Yes, IDP for internal developer platform or identity is like just F me. I can't. I feel very strongly about how how annoying it is to have 3-letter acronyms where it's the same 3 letters with different meanings.
Yeah, we're in the age of overloaded everything. So like,
I have guests staying with me this week from the Netherlands, actually, and we were joking about acronyms and the concept of saying TLA as the acronym for 3-letter acronym has apparently also reached over there. So when I made the comment, like immediately the joke was picked up and continued. I didn't have to re-explain it. That's how bad it is.
That's awesome.
It is now a universal experience across international borders. That is how bad 3-letter acronym life is. That was a very beautiful moment of she's like, oh yeah, no, we live the TLAs too. Was just, yeah, no, it's terrible. this is not even just a Red Hat problem, right? Obviously, it's just a, I guess, software engineering community problem. We got really committed to it and went way too far.
Yeah. That's what makes names so hard, though, right? Like you gotta come up with a cool name, and then you gotta come up with like a cool binary, so that way when you run it on the CLI, when you run it on your shell, like you're not running out this long drawn out thing, so things get overloaded.
Yeah, that's true. One of the most elegance ever is homebrew, and then the CLI commands are just brew.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that one wins for me. I don't even use it hardly ever anymore, especially because you can put it on Linux, but like I didn't need it, so why? But yeah, that one always wins for me for clever creativeness. It's hard to be that good at naming things. I'm not that good at naming things. Please don't ever make me in charge of figuring out how to name and interact with a CLI, because it's going to be bad.
Yeah, mine too. It'll be something inappropriate, or it'll be something like, what was he thinking? Like, why?
It was like, it made perfect sense to me in my head at that time. Can't explain it now. I don't know what I was thinking. Is there a GitHub repo of Red Hat plugins? Yes. Yes, there is.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Oh, no, you go ahead. You're probably going to beat me because I have to reopen the tab.
Were you actually going to the repo, or were you going to the IDP, like the blog?
I was going to the janusidp.io/plugins.
Oh, okay.
Which then does link to the repo
that's
in GitHub. So. Am I pasting or are you pasting? I got confused.
I mean, yeah, I'll paste.
Okay. Figuring out who's going to copy paste. We are such smart people. Look at us. We're the worst. This is a fun thing, though. I like fun things. That's really
well. And the other cool part too is like it's right now. Like if you look at Janus and you look at like Backstage, right? The UIs are very similar. They look the Janus image is built off of Backstage. The big difference between like the Red Hat Janus is that instead of using like Alpine and Node images from Docker.io and stuff like that, we're using the UBI images, and so it's something that you can actually put through like a security assessment and stuff like that. And so it's built on the Red Hat UBI images. It's using Node and all that stuff, but the UI itself looks very similar. But if you wanted to customize it and make it look very, whatever your company is, like very logo-y and color scheme and stuff like that, you can modify the template, and there's a lot that you can do with it. Like it's pretty awesome. It's just it's such a big, broad topic. Like there's the customization aspect of it, and then there's the developer centric focus, where it's like, okay, let me go and put all the tools that I think my team is going to need, and then then it's just the getting people to start using it and buying into it. And actually in the Backstage IO page, they talk about getting your developer to or your organization really to buy in to the whole IDP, and it really comes into just like, all right, let's drive everybody towards that. Let's get everybody using it. Let's get PRs in and stuff like that. And then that way you can kind of like, you can branch out and add tools or remove tools or tweak tools or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I think actually, since we talked about the fact that it's based off of our UBI, right? I think it's worth like kind of taking a moment to explain the why of that, right? Because when we do this, like if Red Hat supplies a Python like image, right? We've gone through the process of doing the security audits and so forth, and tracing down through all the dependencies and everything to ensure that that particular like image is as secure as possible, and should be broadly speaking free of known vulnerabilities, right? To the best of our ability. So for people in highly regulated environments, we've gone through, it's like shifting the security stuff left onto us as like a vendor. And so that's why is that what you just Oh no, you linked something else. I was gonna say somewhere we have actually information about what we do here, as it's actually kind of really cool. But yeah, actually, so, pushing that security left on us as the vendor, so that you can say, okay, you might be using just like standard Postgres or any standard open source thing. It doesn't have to be a Red Hat thing, but we'll have an image for it that has gone through the whole process of being secured in a way that can allow it to perform in a highly regulated environment. Now, I don't know which highly regulated environments we guarantee or don't guarantee, and that might be like a whole other like series of product stuff that I'm not familiar with, because I just use the things that they tell me to use, and it's all right there, and I don't have to care that much, right? So there's probably like a lot more to it, but when we were at KubeCon, there was at the Red Hat booth, one of the security like companies that we work with to secure our images was there and explained the entire process of locking it down. And I don't know if that was recorded and put on our YouTube anywhere, but that was a really interesting and valuable talk. And I took pictures of the slides, which are on my phone and therefore no good to anybody here today. But it was extremely like, I think that was some of the best like 30 minutes I spent at the conference actually was watching that, because it was a very like deep dive into like creating secure images. So, but anyway, so that was kind of like, I wanted to just like pause and like explain that this is the why we have a midstream built on our images. And it's because we do all of the things in order for those to be like secured and so that you can trust them if you're a bank or a government, or, the types of people who typically come to Red Hat as customers are highly regulated. Not that we don't have customers that aren't highly regulated, but we have a lot of customers that are.
Well, it's the enterprisey thing, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the repeatability and supportability and all that stuff. Yeah, it's funny how like it's easy to take a secure image for granted, right? Like secure image is kind of funny to say in itself because it's it's a container image, but it's it's just got everything that it's seen. But like the whole concept of building that thing out, that very minimal container image that you need to run your thing. It's easy to take for granted how that gets put together and distributed, and like especially with the executive order and all that stuff that came out that says that thou shalt increase cybersecurity in all aspects of things. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, thou shalt have SBOMs. I know we're doing something on that, but I don't know what it is or if I'm allowed to even actually officially talk about it. So,
well, they announced the trusted
content.
Yeah, content. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah,
So,
there's something. I
so
can't
there's
remember.
Red Hat, RHTAP, Red Hat Trusted Application Pipeline. That's a project that I worked on for like a year. Not that I did like significant contributions there, but I was like their SRE consultant for that year. And then part of like how they're doing, because the SBOMs thing is like, I think they announced at Summit Trusted Content. I really thought they did. If they didn't, sorry, I spoiled it. Probably won't get fired over that.
Whoops.
Whoops. I think they did. I don't know. I give
think
up
they
on
did too.
life.
I think they did too. Yeah.
Because RHTAP relies on trusted content. So I don't know how you don't talk about it, but I don't know what people do. I don't know their lives. I missed all of Summit. I was on a lot of meetings that week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny how like when you're not at Summit, you're still busy, like trying to catch up with everything else. You'd think that there might be like a little reprieve, but it's really not.
No, there was no reprieve. I had no reprieve. And then, but there were some people who needed meetings that they were just waiting until after Summit to schedule the meetings. So the week after Summit, instead of my usual meeting schedule, which is already awful, it was like that. And then people were trying to double and triple book me in certain, I was just like,
oh yeah.
Oh, we can't do this, friends. We can't. Yeah. I cannot be in 3 places at once.
Yeah, it reminds me of my days as an architect. Like I used to like I would not joke around. Like I would have my work day would be like all day in meetings. Like it would literally go back to back to back to back to back. And then I'd have my work day, my second work day, which is where I actually got to do the technical things that I was talking about in those meetings. And it ends up being it's crazy. It's just you can.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine.
It's my life. That's my actual literal life. I have 30 hours a week of meetings, and then I'm also supposed to do stuff.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore. I'm too old. Like once I get my 40s, I'm like, I can't deal with this stuff anymore. I'm just like, I can't keep up anymore.
Yeah, I'm not as old as you, but I definitely feel too old for it. That's for sure. I think we're all born too old for this many meetings. If I'm really
Yes.
honest, we're all born too old for this many meetings. I'm constantly trying to figure out my way out of them, but working on it. Steven just needs to like surpass me and become the team lead, and then I can rest on my laurels as having like helps him advance, and I just can do nothing. I'll just look pretty.
That's right. That's right.
That's right,
You
Steven.
made it, right?
Exactly. Steven, you understand the assignment. I love picking on him because he watches this, and I'm just so appreciative that somebody on my team actually like pays attention to my little YouTube channel. Tal says I need to open GChat, and Steven says he's seen my calendar. What do you mean nope? But it could be your calendar, Steven. Well, that was extremely brutally honest right there. Okay. Tal sent me something. Let's go open that and pop it into whatever we're doing here. Back on track, back to real work. Stop whining about my meetings.
Yeah.
One more quick whining about my meetings. I was on a meeting where we were trying to schedule another follow-up meeting with the entire group of people. And I was looking at the schedule lineups and I was like, wow, like who's dark purple? Dark purple's like, that's a nightmare to schedule around. And then I realized that I, in fact, was dark purple. And I was the schedule nightmare. And I was like, oh, it's really like, it's one thing to look at it when it's my own and it's in my normal like blue color that I always see it in. But when I look at it like, and it's like as somebody else's, it's like, oh God, that's like extra terrible.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, what do we have here? We have a presentation. I guess I could share this because it's external. Tal, am I allowed to share this? I'm like checking both places to see where he tells me. What do we have? Hang on. Let me read this so I can understand what I am. Yeah, centralized software catalog, plugins, software templates, tech docs, and search. Tech docs as code using Git. That's my favorite. Mm-hmm. I think I can share this. It says external. They probably won't fire me, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. He says, I guess so. We're gonna find out the hard way. This is what they get for not having supervision here. It's part of the developer portal. Anyway, I only have my one screen open right now, and I don't want to mess with that. So we're not getting present mode because that's not the other way. I hate you, Google Slides. Okay. So that's the developer hub thing. And that is the core features, right? So we're kind of talking about this, right? Software templates, software catalog, plugins, tech docs, search. What does the speaker's note say on search? I need another tab of the same thing so that I can know what the speaker's note said without ruining everybody else's experience. Why do we do this to ourselves? We just literally just learning about things live together today is really what's happening.
Yeah, this is a way to do it.
Did you seriously reset it on both? Google. So I have the second, right? I opened the second window with the presentation in a second place so that I could see the speaker's notes so I can like do the things. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but that's really, really tiny. So I like made it the different size on the second window of the presentation, and it just went and changed the zoom on the first window.
No.
Bad. Don't help me. That's the takeaway. Stop helping.
If you want to join, there's also a Janus IDP. I'm just gonna blast this out there. JanusIDP.Slack.
Oh yeah.
If you want to join if you want to join the Janus workspace, I think that they keep it pretty community driven. Like as far as like, if you're trying to go and ask questions about Red Hat Developer Hub, that's probably not the place to go. You know, like if you have questions about the developer hub, it's probably like a more internal facing question because I think that they might answer it, but they might punt as well. Like I've seen them kind of say that you know they don't really talk about the Red Hat product stream in
Yeah.
that workspace. So
Yeah. But I think this particular site is extremely general. And I like the searches that basically the concept behind is so the exact verbiage is you can easily index content from plugins and other sources. This means that you can search across systems, which is really cool. So how many tools do you have to go through before finding what you need? So that I think is that is pretty cool. But they kind of have the thing is like, okay, we're gonna put all these things in here and then also make it easy to navigate the things. That talks about the plugin ecosystem, which we kind of poked at a little bit. So apparently we joined that we announced that we're joining the Backstage community here at Red Hat back in October. So I definitely feel like I missed information. That, by the way, is a very cute. I don't know who did this, but I love it. So that's very, very, very cute. And yeah, so there we go. This talks about kind of the upstream and the midstream differences. This is a really cool thing. So Backstage core, right? The upstream, and it has all the things, and then it has like lots of Helm charts, and then the midstream has those sample golden paths and plugins and everything else that we were kind of talking about. I didn't see custom actions in the stuff that we were poking at, so I wonder where that was so that I can learn more. And then we don't care about this right now. We're ignoring. Just ignore that. This is what we care about. This is what's in Janus. That's pretty neat. Let's go find custom actions. Like I want to. What's custom actions? What does that mean? Tell me.
yeah.
Maybe the speaker sense actually does tell me.
Yeah, it's in the software catalog.
Software catalog. Okay, cool. Where was that tab?
Actually, I'll send it to you right now.
Okay, great.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe send it to me right now.
All right. Bam. Bam. This is the actual writing the template, but it's in like the actual, it's built Backstage software templates.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so extends the functionality of the scaffolder, which I did go read up about the scaffolder previously. And that is required context for this, but I don't know if I feel like it.
Yeah, this I'd say is where I probably struggled the most, is where like understanding the relationship between like the scaffolder and like the different components, because when you look at these, they have like the manifests get created, right? They'll have a component might have like an API version, a kind, metadata. So it looks very much like a Kubernetes resource, but it's really not. It's literally a Backstage resource, but it's identical to a Kubernetes. So if you try to do like a kubectl apply or kubectl create on it, it'll barf because it doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, it actually had Jinja 2 templating involved in it, didn't it?
I don't know. Don't even get blind.
I was gonna say, one of the things I was looking at, I think it was the scaffolder that I was looking at last night. I actually noticed and I was like, oh, that looks like Jinja 2 templating is being used here. But and other than that, it looks exactly like you said, it looks exactly like a Kubernetes resource, but with that in. And I don't remember where I saw that. So it might not have been the scaffolder, but that was kind of, I was like, oh, okay, I see. So you kind of have this thing in, and then you need to parse this so that the templating pieces get replaced with the content, and then that becomes the thing. So it was either in the scaffolder or it might have been, there was something called skeletons. It might have been in that I was looking at.
Gotcha.
Somewhere in the code. That was the thing that I found. Close. You can see the things that I have been doing on my workday. Where was that? That was a really cool thing. If I could only remember where I found it. Anyway, this is a very big thing, obviously. And that's why we are just like exploring it right now. Because
Yeah, and Tal is saying that that you use the scaffolder to create the user-created resources like templates and there you go. I don't have to read it.
I mean, it was still helpful to read it. I always read the things I threw up on the screen. Where is? I wanted the GitHub. There it is. I found it. It's in front of my face. That's why I missed it. Where was I looking when I saw that? It was somewhere. Contributing code of conduct. Was it here? There's a lot. No, that's not what I was wanting.
Yeah, I walked through the getting started because, like I said, I was trying to build it before I really understood what it was doing, and I'm like, after a while, I was like, okay, I need to take a step back because I just don't know what the hell's going on. So I ended up going through the getting started, and that helped kind of like put some of the pieces together for me.
Yeah. I wish I could remember where I found the thing. You'll find it eventually. Eventually, whoever you are, when you're looking at this, you'll find the thing and do the stuff. I know I'm so descriptive in my language here. Things and stuff is really. We are really just like winning contests for use of the English language today.
That's right.
I really maybe what I was looking at was in the Janus one. Actually, that literally could be my problem.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that because theirs is pretty. Yep, if it's Janus-IDP, github.com/Janus-IDP.
There we go. Okay, so it switched me to my tab, which was really helpful. Thank you, Firefox. Except for that tab is in a different window, so I don't think you all can see it. Now you can. Where was I looking at it? It might have been in the templates. Yes.
Yeah.
This looks familiar. That wasn't it though, but yeah. So you can see there's the little like variables. That's the thing I wanted. Yeah. I actually don't know how it really works, but it looked like it was variables to me. But I can't see where actually this still doesn't have the there it is. That's what I was looking at. I found it. See, I found it.
I did it.
I did it. I remembered. This is what I was looking at, and I was kind of looking at this, and I was like, "Is this meant to be used with Ansible?"
No.
I was like, because this looks like the syntax here, because Ansible also has Jinja 2 templating.
Yeah.
This looks like it looks like Jinja 2 templating.
Yeah, it looks like Helm.
Oh, you're right. I thought this was probably it. I forgot that Helm has really similar syntaxy things.
Honestly, that's how I picked up Helm so fast. If I not even lying, right? Like I was familiar with Jinja, and yeah, this just kind of fit my eye pretty well.
Yeah, no, I can't believe that I didn't immediately catch on to that. Especially considering Helm is it's like literally like stamped all over like Backstage and the slides we just saw.
Mm-hmm.
My brain did not do the brain thing.
So the catalog file here, and Tal, correct me if I'm wrong, but like essentially when you want to create something, like you can point to this catalog file, and this catalog file is like the mapping of like resources, right? So you can pull stuff in, and then it'll add stuff in, and then there's like an app config, which is like it's like the config that the application itself reads in. So that has like your integrations, so if you're using GitHub integration for like maybe authentication, or you're using GitHub integration for like a different application, right? So like Keycloak or Argo CD, you would define it in the app config, and then when you want to pull like things in to your Backstage, you would point to the catalog info, and then that's how you would slurp it in. So that's where like the reusability starts to come in. So if you have multiple Backstages or multiple tools and stuff like that.
Why would you have multiple? I mean, I guess you could have multiple Backstages. I take that back. I don't question the why on that at all. I appreciate Tal sitting here in our comments being basically our expert right now. And again,
Yeah.
This is all his fault because he was like, you should do an episode on this. And I was like, I don't know anything about it, but okay. But Tal's actually in Israel, so it's very, very, very late. So I appreciate you staying awake. Then it can be used in different places. Right. Okay. That is in the adding on to Johnny's comment, which I was totally going to repeat verbatim, and then I forgot it. But hopefully the rest of the viewers remember.
So if you go through like the Backstage walkthrough, if you create a Backstage and then you go through their demo and you pull their stuff in, like it'll pull in like a demo website, and then it's essentially a Node.js template, right? So you click on the Node.js template and you go through and you're like, hey, what do you want to name this? Who's the owner? You know, and you fill out this little template and then click create, and it creates all the entities and stuff like that, and you can see the relationships and stuff. And if you wanted to create like something extra, right? Like maybe you wanted to add links to the page or something like that, you could add that stuff in, and then it'll add like little icons, you know, like, oh, I've got a CI page, so here's a link to that, or you know, here's my Jira issue page. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty customizable. So
that is neat. I was looking at the spec right here. And the depends on and the part of.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering. I like that. Yeah, provision and Argo City, for instance. Yep. What was I wondering? I got distracted by his comments. I just am not. I was up until 2 a.m. I'm sorry. I'm not braining. The brain is just done. It's like, okay, we need to go take a nap now. We can't life anymore.
You were talking about the depends on and
right. The depends on and the part of. Right. So I feel like an idiot because I'm not sure if this maps to any other like places of best practice with all this other stuff. But we've been having some conversations internally around the ecosystemic nature, ecosystem-like. We're just going to go ecosystem-like. That's words. The ecosystem-like nature of OpenShift, because OpenShift is a series of components, and we've been talking about ways to improve our understanding of those things cross-functionally. And so when I see things like, oh, depends on and part of, and I'm like, ooh, yes. That is a huge nod towards the whole concept of an ecosystem and making that easier to navigate for what you're delivering.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a lot of the value, I think, that like that relationship between the different components, right? Because I think a lot of that is it's not really it's tribal knowledge, right? Like right now, if you don't have that mapping, if you don't have that kind of like, if you don't have that relationship map built out, then it is tribal knowledge, right? Like it's what Johnny knows how it sprawls, and then it's what Hilliary knows how it sprawls, right? So I think that there's a lot of value in that organizations will get, especially like when you start creating all these microservices at random, and you got hundreds of developers doing hundreds of things, right? Like you need to know how it all circles back and how they all interconnect and stuff like that. You need to know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what? Get out of here, Christian. What? Look at him being in here. What? No. Yeah. So that I really like because it's kind of like, okay, so you could say like depends on Keycloak, but it's like, which Keycloak? You can actually have multiple instances of Keycloak running because sometimes Kubernetes or an OpenShift cluster is multi-tenant. So those types of things are really helpful because I actually can think of like a product off the top of my head that has 2 Keycloaks. And there have been problems where something isn't working and it seems to be related to Keycloak, and we spent a bunch of time before we realized it other Keycloak. Oh, okay. Now I know exactly what's wrong.
other brother narrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that I go to the other key cloak, the issue is really obvious, but it took 10 minutes to recognize that because there was not an easy, obvious mapping. So little things like that where I like anything that makes the ecosystem easier. We took monoliths and we broke them up, and now we have microservices, and in some ways it's much easier to see what's going on, and in some ways it's much harder because now all of your tracing is distributed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for real.
That's this distributed tracing. It's not a GitOps topic, but that would be a fun topic sometime.
Yes, I agree. Like that whole idea, like between that and I know this isn't distributed tracing, but like this is something I'm like super amped up about is Scupper and the Red Hat Service Application Interconnect or whatever it's called. That I'm like super amped up about that. I think that's gonna be pretty awesome because like they're similar but totally different.
Yeah.
App to app versus cluster to cluster.
Yeah, no, but it is important. It is really important. We have customers that'll have like, this is my development cluster, this is my staging cluster, this is my production cluster, which is like great. That's really good best practice actually. Even though, and it's expensive, so they're really invested in the like what they're doing and doing it well. But actually when there's something going wrong and it's only going on one cluster, but it also seems like it should be the same, that's exactly the missing piece. And I think we know that because we have that with our customers. I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's find some excuse and to call it GitOps. Because to be honest, this is sort of GitOps adjacent, right? I mean, we didn't even really touch into that, although we probably should have. Maybe we'll follow up with that in a different episode about like what does this all mean with GitOps? But like I think hopefully that this audience can infer a lot of it. The other thing though is that yes, this is GitOps Guide to the Galaxy, so that it doesn't have to be only GitOps. So they just have to we have to just get like the loosest of tie-ins ever, and then good enough, or we can do an episode on it. So that might be distributed tracing and cluster to cluster. Like we should talk about that more and nerd out about it because honestly, I'm bored of I'm not bored of GitOps, but I'm a little bit bored of GitOps. So let's find good excuses to show more other things for a little while, for like 5 minutes.
Well, especially like you're an infra person, right? So it's like it makes sense that like you want to, it's let's put some stuff together with GitOps. Like I think that's where the story is.
That's where the story is. Exactly. That's where the story is.
We'll
workshop it.
Yeah.
We'll workshop it. We got some time. So we're actually over time. We got distracted. I had a really fun time like poking around and learning about this live on the stream, even though I like, normally I think normally we try to come here and demonstrate our expertise. Today we came here and demonstrated our interests in things of learn and like willingness to learn, which I do think is kind of an important thing to do, is like, let's learn about something live together. We probably should do this more. It's even though it feels awkward and like vulnerable. But we are over time. In 2 weeks on June 29th, we will be joined by Robin Bobbitt from the Ansible Lightspeed team to learn about Ansible and generative AI. Folks who are long-term viewers will remember that we had the IBM Z Systems Ansible team on a while ago to talk about how they were using Ansible. At that time, it's called Project Wisdom. We did reference it a little bit, and they indicated that they were kind of working with that stuff. So we'll learn more about Ansible Lightspeed in depth, and then I forget what the next episode is. I have the next like 3 episodes all figured out. I'll be posting them on LinkedIn. I got that done this week. That's part of why this one was kind of like thrown at the wall last minute versus the other ones are actually planned. I'm only one person because Christian abandoned me again. So we'll go through that, and then come like August or whatever, we could circle back to some of this and do a little bit deeper dives. Feel free to G-chat me, Slack me, tweet me, carrier pigeon, whatever your form of communication with me is. If you have requests about something, and I can work on trying to make it happen through the end of the year. And that's it. Thank you, Jonny, for coming and saving me so I wasn't talking to a black box by myself, because I really don't. I always think it's better with 2 people on these shows. I really do.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And then I feel like every time I say it, I feel like it's super applicable, which means I must be saying the right thing. So I'll remind you all to choose your technical debt wisely. I'm not going to bother playing the outro because I'm not that talented with the Restream program. I'm just going to hit end stream right now. We will see